Brawlhalla fans. So tonight I'm gonna be hopping into training mode for a little bit because kind of what I want to do is go over
Hattori.
how I play Hattori and kind of break down some of the things that I'm doing with her. It's kind of a preemptive take on a guide that I've been thinking about making for kind of my play style and how I play Brawlhalla, but figured I'd do it on stream first and kind of see the reaction of people. So let's talk about Hattori. Why do I play Hattori? Mainly, I play Hattori because she's the fastest character in the game. I feel like her speed gives me a pretty strong advantage because I can get into position faster for all sorts of variety of moves. Now, Hattori's speed affects her dodge distance, it affects her jump height, it affects how far her uppercuts travel. Like, there's basically nothing that isn't affected by speed in this game. So I really like the fact that, you know, I can cover all this distance with Hattori. It's really easy to recover with her. I just like the speed. So let's talk about how I play and what some of the things are that I do that most people don't. So, one of the first things I think is that I tend to go unarmed a lot more than other people do. The reason for this is because I think unarmed is a great move set. So one of the things that I do constantly is this little combo here, where if you down light, you can combo it into air neutral. All you gotta do is jump immediately after the down light and go up for the neutral air. Takes a little bit of repositioning depending on where they get knocked up to, but you can almost always connect it, and with Hattori, it's easy to chase with an uppercut afterwards. So yeah. At higher levels of red health like here, you can often miss some of the hits in your combo, but it's still pretty solid, and it's something that I tend to do all the time. Now, one of the other things that you can do is early on you can actually combo this into more stuff. So you can go into the air neutral, and then jump, and then dive kick. And most of the time, people aren't expecting the immediate dive kick. You can also go air neutral, and then uppercut afterwards, and do all the rest of the stuff. So kind of learning unarmed is really important. You know, between the slide kick and the dive kicks, you get a lot of nice movement and momentum with Hattori. The slide kick goes pretty far for her. You know, if we compare this to the forward tilt on the sword, it goes almost about the same distance, which is pretty cool. And the nice thing is that when you slide like this, it actually lowers your hurt box a little bit, because you can see that she gets lower to the ground. So it's kind of got multiple moves. So if you guys aren't using this, you certainly should. Yeah. Alright, so that's another thing I can talk about really quick. This combination of down heavies into an uppercut is really useful for edge guarding. The reason for this is because when people are trying to get back onto the edge, they typically can't react to both. So if they're going down and you down heavy, if it connects, awesome. But if they dodge upward through it, now you're in a position where you can follow up with an uppercut immediately. Now, a lot of people don't know this about the down heavy moves, but basically, as soon as you let go of the stick, it stops. If you keep holding down with the stick, it will travel basically until, well, you die or hit the ground. So the key is to let up on the direction, and that's going to determine the distance it travels. So the minimum amount is about this much, but it's useful to note that you can make it last for as long as you want. You can extend it past the minimum range, which I think is something a lot of people overlook. So yeah, unarmed combos, very important. So yeah, just remember this move into an uppercut is something that's pretty useful. Usually you're at about this height when you do it. And if you watch some of my gameplay, you'll see that that's something that I do fairly often. Alright, and then of course there's the dive kicks. So what's interesting about the dive kicks is that it does out-prioritize 95% of the moves in the game, with the exception of the hammer down heavy and a few of the guitar moves, such as the guitar down heavy, and the guitar air neutral, the spear air neutral. But for the most part, the dive kick has great priority, meaning that you can hit people out of their attack animations because you're coming in above most hitboxes. And it's just a really useful move, and it's something that most people who play 1v1 figure this out pretty quick, that dive kicks are important. One of the important things to note is you can do directional mix-ups with this. So basically, the dive kick is going to come out in whatever the direction that your character is facing. So you actually have to move the way that your character is facing, and then dive kick. But you can do this in midair if your execution is good, and change direction. And this is actually really useful for people who are expecting you to dive kick, because they're going to dodge in one direction or another. So if you kind of time your jump so that you're over them, and then you can see what direction they roll, and then dive kick back onto them. So just something to think about with the dive kicks. The other nice thing about the dive kicks is that if you hit, if they're at white health, they can usually respond immediately with like a light neutral attack. We can't really see that here since the bot is just set to standing, and I've never been able to get these training options to work where the bot will actually do something. But let's see if we can get the bot to like dodge or something, or evasive. Let's see if that changes the bot behavior at all for us. Hey Ruin BW, nice to see you in chat. Just kind of like going over all of my secrets of gameplay right now. So there's like a 5-hit combo you can do if people don't dodge. What was I talking about? Yeah, dive kick. So after a dive kick, you're usually in position where you can slide immediately afterwards to keep the pressure on. One of the other things to note about the slide, actually, that I forgot is one of the things you see people doing a lot is kind of messing around in this shenanigan area, and you know, you'll also see the edge guard and everything. The slide kick is actually a really great move for edge guarding. Let's see if we can put these hitboxes on. Alright, so see the hitbox for the slide kick actually goes down into this platform some, so it actually will hit people coming up through the platform. And what's nice about it is that they're going to run into the hitbox before they run into you, so you can actually hit people out of uppercuts and other recovery moves if you use the slide kick over the shenanigan area. So, for all of you who are saying that Unarmed is worse than other things, it's really not. Unarmed is great. It's one of my favorite movesets. The nice thing about using Unarmed with Hattori is because of her speed, she can stick to characters really easily and kind of get in there for the moves that she needs to do. One of the other things you can do with the slide kick is you can also combo it into a standing heavy. If people don't dodge or move out of the way, it will combo, but it's not a guaranteed hit confirm or anything. Unarmed is basically, you don't really get any guarantees beyond the slide kick and air neutral. That one you can hit 95% of the time. But anyway, that's enough about Unarmed. Alright, let's move onward. So the spear. So lately, this is how people have been playing this spear. They've been doing this. They air tilt over and over and over again, because this is a great move at kind of keeping people away. It does good force at lower health ranges and everything else, but it doesn't do the best damage in the world. So this does 20 points of damage. So let's take a look at some of your other options. Standing neutral is the fastest, does 21. This down light move does 25, and this is actually one of the spear's best options at close range, because you'll see if I'm standing right on top of the character, this standing neutral whiffs, right? And you end up in this position rather frequently when you play Brawlhalla, where you're pretty much just stacked up on each other. So when this happens, you can hit with the down light. And that's the important thing to note, is that even if they're like slightly behind you, you can still hit with this thing because the hitbox is nice and generous. So, and then after that you have, you know, kind of your follow-up options. You can combo into a tilt or air neutral or whatever. So the spacing with the spear is kind of interesting, and you need to kind of decide which move to use based on the spacing. Air neutral comes out a lot faster than the down light, but if they're stacked on top of you, down light is the move that you want to use. Let's see just how far away. Okay, so it doesn't work if your whole character is away. But if you are on top of them at all, down light's the move to select. You can follow that into a quick air tilt. So this is another really notable move right now. The air neutral, which gives you this kind of baton spin. People have actually been using this a lot more recently when we kind of discovered that it's got really great priority. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage. You know, it does less than the air tilt, it does less than, you know, even the standing neutral. It does about 14 points of damage. But you want to use this in priority, you know, in order to make sure that you're attacking safely. This is actually one of the better moves to use against blades right now, just because you get some protection from the blades because of how generous the hitbox is on this. Turn this off. It's a little distracting. So yeah, this move here. Air neutral is really solid right now for the spear. Fuzzy Chizbill asks, would I recommend a controller over a keyboard and mouse? You know, honestly, the game Brawlhalla was designed for keyboard and mouse, with controllers as the second option. The devs have specifically kept the whole game down to like 3 buttons so that you could play with a mouse and, you know, shift. So, you know, it's really up to you, whatever you're most comfortable on. I know some of the top players that I play against play with mouse and keyboard. I play with the controller. I know that some people are starting to play with fight sticks. I'm actually thinking about trying it out with my fight stick once I get the devs to add the drivers for it. So really it's up to you and what you're comfortable with. This game is pretty easy execution-wise. So, you know, it's whatever you're comfortable on, you'll be able to get, you know, get to pretty good execution requirements pretty quick. And I'd argue that some things are almost easier to do on keyboard than on controller. Anyway, what else do I want to say? Oh yeah, so one of the next things is forward tilt. And typically this is kind of used to cover a little bit of distance. The way that I use it is when I need that kind of extra reach. So a lot of times, you know, at this distance, when I'm like, I'll usually toss out one of these, and if it hits, if the neutral hits, I'll, you know, people try to follow it up like this so that you stay on top of people. So it's kind of a good gap closing move. On its own, let's check the damage. I have all these damage things written down, but, you know, just for the video's sake. So for damage, it's only 15. It's not that much. The force is okay. But most of the time, you're actually better, like, just doing an air tilt. Unless you have to close that distance. And it's actually good for kind of staying on top of people. So you'll see me use this, like, in between, you know, neutrals and air tilts and the rest of it when it seems appropriate. But the thing about it is that it's somewhat slow. It's acceptable to dive kicks. You know, you can get knocked out of this pretty easy. And it's pretty easy to roll through because it has all these active frames. So someone can just dodge through this and then attack you immediately afterwards, as opposed to the air neutral, which is pretty much safe. Or the standing neutral, rather, which is pretty much safe. So you'll see me do this a lot more often than using the forward. Alright, so let's talk about these recoveries. So the down spear has this really wide hitbox, and you can see that it actually alternates from side to side. And this is why it's really easy to get hit out of it. So basically, if you're doing this and somebody uppercuts you right in the center, you'll get knocked out of it every time. You know, the up helicopter recovery is pretty similar. And these moves are best used situationally. The nice thing about Hattori, because you can stick with people and stay close to them, is that a lot of times you can throw these out without people expecting it. You can also, you know, get combos off of your down tilt like this if you wait for a dodge. Normally after people get hit, what happens in Brawlhalla when you're playing 1v1 is people go, oh my god, I got hit, I need to dodge. And so this down spear attack is actually really good where you wait a second for them to dodge and then you can follow up with an up heavy. This move right here is actually really cool because you can hit people out of dive kicks and you can hit people out of dodges. It's a really good way to punish people who dodge into you as well. So at this space, you know, let's say I whiff this spear attack and then Nai dodges into me, I can follow up with this down heavy and it will knock her out. The nice thing is too is it does a fair amount of damage and it's got good force. So it's good stuff. Alright, that's enough for the spear. Let's look at some sword stuff. So again, the sword air tilt is really good right now. You'll see people throwing this out a lot. It gets beat out clean by spears and guns, probably 70% of the time. You know, know, it gets beat out by hammers if you're playing against a really good hammer player. So the thing is like a lot of people now are just running around with sword characters and just spamming this move over and over again because it's one of the only good moves left for the sword. But there are still other options. So the standing neutral with the sword is probably the best standing neutral in the game. It comes out really fast. It's pretty much safe. You can chain it into each other. It's got good force. You can use it for edge guarding and all sorts of stuff. It hits above the character. It comes out super fast. Like, this move is just godly. So it's still really good, even after all the sword nerfs. It's one of the ones that didn't really get messed with too much. So this is key to using the sword. The down light is something that still exists. It's not as good as it used to be. But what's nice about it is that as opposed to this move, as opposed to the standing neutral, it has just a slight bit more reach. And what's interesting about it is you can kind of catch people off guard with it now because nobody's really using it, which is pretty cool. Let's turn this hitbox off. It's annoying. Alright. So Hattori's air recovery, one of the things you'll see me do a lot is I like to chain these when possible, because they're really good when you can connect all the hits. It does not a lot of damage, but the force is good, and it comes out a lot faster than, like, you know, the spear up heavy or the gun up heavy. Like, it's one of the hardest ones to dodge. It's one of the easiest ones to actually hit. Yeah, it's good stuff. So I like to use that move quite a bit. Now the heavies with the swords, I don't really care too much about talking about these two moves because, as we all saw in the last dev stream, heavy moves are going to start getting replaced by signature moves for each character. So this is like one of the worst heavy moves in the game. It comes out super slow, it's got a really long recovery time. You know, like, look at how long it takes me to dodge after that. Whereas, like, I can dodge almost, like, immediately after the attack animation like, during the attack animation with standing neutral. So this move is just garbage. Don't ever use it. Same thing with this. Like, it's just bad. This move is so horrible. Hey, I'm cool. What's up, man? So yeah, don't use the heavy moves with the swords. They're god-awful. You want to use neutral light as much as possible. Down light you can use to some degree. Not super useful. And then you want to play the spacing game. Now, those are kind of the basics. Oh, the other thing, the down heavy with the sword is awesome. Like, it comes out super fast. It does a whole lot of damage. Use it, abuse it. So there's a good example there. So I whiffed on the nigh hit, right? I whiff, she whiffs, and then I'm able to follow up with a recovery move. That's something that I do a lot that I don't see other people really doing. So I go for this, I miss, and I can hit with a recovery move. Too often, like, I don't see people doing that. People go for these down heavies and then they go too far and they're like, oh crap, I missed my opportunity to... I missed, I can't do anything. Well, kind of one of the tricks to getting better is to plan for what happens if it fails. You know, like, if I'm gonna say, oh, I'm gonna go for this recovery move. Oh, I missed, what do? I throw my weapon. You know, like that kind of stuff. You always got to be thinking about how to put down damage immediately. So you almost want to think of, like, when you're stringing attacks together, think of it more as this continuous flowchart of what I'm going to do is I'm going to standing neutral. I'm going to standing neutral, then I'm going to roll forward, then I'm going to down light, and then I'm going to uppercut, and then I'm going to do a down heavy. And you're going to imagine that all those things connect, and if all of them connect, it's going to be beautiful, right? Like, but if they don't, you immediately have to adapt for what the next possible solution is. But by stringing all this stuff together, then you start figuring out better ways to put down damage consistently. Alright, so let's talk about throw setups. So this is one of the things that I do all the time that I don't really see other people doing either very consistently or very well. So basically one of the best tools in the game right now is to throw the weapon and follow up with an unarmed attack while they're still in the hit stun. So you toss the weapon. This is actually going to be really difficult if I can't get this bot to do something. Let's see if the bot will jump. Please, please jump. Oh, look, it's jumping. Cool. Awesome. Alright, so here's an example. I toss a weapon. she's red right now, so we gotta start her over. Get out of here, 9. Okay.
Godlike.
Godlike. Thank you, training mode. But the whole idea here is that basically with your weapon tosses, you're setting up an opportunity to follow up immediately. So, works here with a spear because it's the spear. I'm trying to think of a good, clean way to demonstrate this, because usually the best way that this works is you throw an item and somebody will dodge through it. And as they dodge through it, you can follow up with an attack. And there's actually, this is so important to me that what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys this on my YouTube channel. If you haven't already seen this, it'll be useful. If you have, I apologize, but it's worth revisiting just for the fact that I feel this is super important. So, hold on a second while I make my face super small. But basically, these item setups, this is something I put in a guide video like, I don't know, ages ago. Over a month ago, I think. And for whatever reason, people just haven't adopted it into the play very much. Even though I know my opponents know it exists, they're either not implementing it right or they're just not thinking about it. And this is probably where a good 12 to 15% of all of my damage comes from in matches. So if you break that down, that's at least half a stock. And it's a technique that I feel is really important. So let me find this thing. Let's see. I want to say that it's in the punishment guide. Whoa, okay. Here we go. Let me pull this up.
The remote planet, Zebulax.
Alright. They're basically completely open. Now, of course, this requires a good amount of luck and spacing in order to be able to do it and being able to churn. Alright, the table I'm talking, let's turn this off until I find the right section. There we go. Alright, so here's the section on this. I will talk over this new, but basically you see this right here. He dodges, and I get to follow up with an attack. This is the whole concept, because basically what you're doing here is you're setting up an unblockable scenario, right? They only have two options. They can either eat the item and get hit, or they dodge and then get hit by a follow-up. So this is another reason why it's really important to be comfortable on ranged or on unarmed. You know, the unarmed moveset is because it's vital to being able to do this kind of damage. So, you know, it's either dodge or get hit and then get hit by the follow-up. And the whole key to this, to being able to do this correctly, is to do it at the right distance so that you can still follow up afterwards. So it doesn't work if you're, let's go back to the beginning on this. It doesn't work if you're too far away, and it doesn't work if you're right on top of them, because the item will hit them too far away. So you basically want to be about like a spear's length away from people. Like right here is optimal, right? So let's look at this one. I'm about to punch Frax. So here I throw the hammer, and this is about the right distance that you want for these item throws, because as soon as he's able to react to this, the dodge distance is going to cover the gap for me so that I can perfectly follow up with a neutral attack like this. And it's just impossible for people to deal with. It is, if people dodge backwards, they get hit by the item. The only other real option is to dodge up or down, and most people are really bad at that right now. Most people only dodge in one of two directions, backwards or forwards. So, you know, doing the downward dodge is a way to do it, but right now, there's almost no way, like, nobody deals with this. Like, nobody has adapted to this yet. Like, this is how I win all the time. This is why nobody beats me, is because I'm the only person who's really employing this technique right now. Even though I put it in a guide that I published last year, right before the new year. 270 of you have watched it. So let's look at this one more time. Throw the item, he gets hit, right? He sees that I have the bomb, so he's gonna dodge through it. And I'm able to start hitting him before he recovers from his dodge. it's just basic, like, it's like frame traps, exactly like Maximus and Ruin BW are saying in chat. Like, the only option is to dodge up or down, and most people don't dodge up or down. Like, the only time that I dodge up or down is if I'm doing edge guarding, right? Like, it never occurs to me to dodge up during a horizontal fight, because people just don't think about it that way. Because if you think about it like dodges, like in this example here with Misfit v Hattori, Misfit doesn't want to dodge up, because if he dodges up, what's going to happen is the item's going to go under him, and then he's going to be in the air, which is, with me, unarmed is not that big of a deal, but typically, unless you're unarmed, you don't want to be in this like diagonal position. If he goes down, he's in the shenanigan area, and that's really passive. What he wants to do is dodge through the item towards me, because he's thinking, I need to close the distance, right? Because that's how people use dodges. They say, dodges are how I close the gap. That's how I get in, right? Like, that's what I think when I'm dodging towards people. So he dodges forward through it, and then I just follow up with the unarmed thing. So, I mean, this is something where this isn't difficult to do. All you got to do is throw the item and then press X. So, it's just one of those things that you can wrap into the game. And for me, it's a huge part of playing, for how I play Hattori. So, like, let's see if I can show some examples. Let's pull up the stream from last night, and we'll just find a random 1v1 match. I think I did I play any Hattori ones early? I mean, I still do some of the same things with Lucian, but this was kind of Hattori oriented. Let's see. This isn't me on Hattori. Yeah, I find it really interesting in Smash how the dodge mechanics work, like, because you can roll. You know, you can decide which way you want to roll, but you can't really do the other stuff. All right, let's look at this Lucian match that I played against Hattori. So in this match, I 4-stock Misfit. Now, part of the reason for this is because I'm really good at unarmed and really good at these item setups. So, yes, I'm awesome. Yay, me. I have to kind of talk like this. I usually try not to brag, but I'm trying to like be useful and break down all of this stuff for you guys. So, excuse my level of hubris, but I felt like it was about time that I start talking about some of this stuff again, because I've been super lazy with all of this. So, let's look at this. All right. So, item tosses. Here's another thing we should look at real quick. So notice what I do here. I toss the item. Why do I toss the item? Because I have another item I can pick up. This is another huge thing. Like, and I make this mistake too, but this is something a lot of people overlook. It's like, don't get rid of your weapon. Don't go for a long distance toss. It's really easy for them to dodge through, unless you can pick up something else right away. Like, you always want to be able to have a projectile nearby or a weapon in your hand, because you're just, if you don't have either of those things, you're playing at a disadvantage. So, I mean, at this, yeah, I got lucky and hit Hattori, but I'm so far away I can't go pick up these pistols now. The only reason I did this throw was because I saw I had a weapon I could go and pick up. So right now we're going to see some of the ridiculous blades thing. By the way, guys, I did post on the Steam discussion that blades are overpowered and I think they should be nerfed for like that exact reason right there. Like, that was a 30-second KO. Forward heavy. I just realized it would be confusing hearing me talk again. So with Lucian, he's actually one of the harder characters to set up the setups with items, because the item throw setups are actually a lot easier to do with the spear and the hammer. So like, here's an example right here where I think Misfit does this incorrectly. I think I went a little too far, but we'll catch up. Oh, there's something significant. Hold on. All right, so look what happens here. Here's another thing that I do a lot. Using the Valkyrie horns to disguise your movement, okay? Yeah, Compton was right all along. He just got too involved in the internet drama. It turned into some stupid argument. But, yeah, the blades are slightly broken right now. But Anyway, that's not that's not what we're talking about at the moment. What I wanted to show you is this technique with the Valkyrie horn. So here's the interesting thing about the Valkyrie horn that everybody overlooks, right? They go, oh, look, a Valkyrie horn. He's using it to get a weapon. Well, the thing is you can also use it offensively to kind of protect an area of the map. People have gotten used to that. So one of the new techniques that I've been using is using the Valkyrie horn to disguise your movements. So what happens when you call the Valkyrie horn? There's a big noise, and you know it's going to come from the right side of the screen. So everybody's eyes starts tracking the Valkyrie horn because they're going, the Valkyrie horn is coming. I must dodge it. And so their eyes are completely off of you as soon as you call this thing, basically giving you the availability to do whatever the heck you want to them. So 9 times out of 10, when you call a Valkyrie horn, that's your best opportunity to go and get free damage if you're anywhere close to the other opponent. So I believe this is an example of it right here. I'll start it up, go for the horn, call it, slide kick into combo, and the horn also hits. All right, good stuff. So that's something that I've been trying to do lately. I'm going to get out of these videos and back into the game. And if any of you guys want a 1v1, I can kind of talk through some of this stuff as we play. But I just figured it was kind of time for me to do a more like guide-oriented stream discussion that I could put on YouTube afterwards, because it's been so long since I've done a guide, and I feel like I've gotten to this point with the gameplay where a lot of these things, I think that with a lot of players, and I know I'm guilty of this in other fighting games, where it's like I believe that where it's just hard for some people to see certain stuff. Like it just needs to be told to them once, and then they go like, oh yeah, now I get it. And stuff like that. Like it's just, sometimes you just need somebody to point things out, and then it clicks. Sometimes that's all you need. All right, so let's look at this again. So Valkyrie horn. When you call it, again, where do people's eyes go? To the right. So free damage. And the best part is when you can call the horn and then start attacking them immediately, and then they get hit by the horn as well. And actually being unarmed is a great way to do that. You know, you're going to be unarmed anyway because you're calling the Valkyrie horn. But it's a really good opportunity to go into one of those slide neutral air combos, because like in this case, you know, it gets hit by the combo and the Valkyrie horn. I wonder if we can actually see what the damage is on the Valkyrie horn. I know these damage values are kind of inconsistent, but let's see if we can get another horn and see if it gives us a damage value. I know it's pretty decent. It's got to be at least, there it is, 15. So about the same as a lot of air tilts. So that's just something to think about, something to check out. And, you know, it's all these little extra things that are what lead to me winning matches. It's not like being better at using a weapon or anything like that, or being better at positioning. It's just outthinking folks and using extra techniques that people haven't really incorporated yet. You know, because you gotta be creative. But anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and open up a game if anyone wants to play, and we can keep talking about some of this kind of stuff. I'm gonna drink my tea. I know there's only 4 of y'all in chat right now, but that's cool. I appreciate the visits. I like seeing Maximus Maxi back. We had a blast playing Skullgirls last night, which was super fun. And I'm pretty excited about having picked that up again. And I would be completely up for playing that again tonight, if you so desire, Maximus, my friend. But yeah, I think the thing that's kind of prevented me from oh, it looks like Misfit wants a game. We'll play with Maximus first. Oh no, chat's broken. No, Steam! I don't know why Steam keeps doing this. My like Steam overlay keeps freaking out, and I have no idea why. Oh man. Alright, let's close down a couple things. And then it does this crap, where it's just like spamming things that I can't stop. Has anybody run into this bug? I can't close overlay right now either, which sucks. Alright, hold on. I gotta restart my client or something. Why is this happening? Why is it using 59% of my CPU? What the heck? Alright, let's try this again. My poor CPU. Oh, Windows Defender, you need to die. I don't even know why you're on. No. How do I turn you off? I don't care. Jesus. That's probably what's been ruining my crap all this time. Alright, let's reload. Sorry about this, Maximus. I'm getting back in.
Welcome to Brawlhalla. Custom.
Alright, let's try this again. Ah, it's still doing it. Oh, man. Alright. Alright, so it looks like Maximus is going to go on Hattori. I'm going to stick on Hattori as well, because this has kind of been like a Hattori-oriented video right now. I'll be on Demon Hattori. And we'll just kind of look at that. Oh, man. Rune BW says, I think the game would be better if it had more combos. I completely agree with you, man. And, you know, before 1.5.3, I think that the blades were fine because sword characters also had combos and hit confirms and the like. So, you know, what happened was is they were convinced that the sword needed to change. They said, hey, we've got sword problems. You guys are doing too many combos with it. We don't like all the guaranteed damage. And I was like, well, you know, just bring all the other weapons up. Give all the other weapons their own hit confirms, and then everything will be fine, right? Like, but unfortunately, they decided not to do that. They decided they wanted to nerf the, I can't believe that happened. They wanted to nerf the sword into the ground, and the problem is they basically seem to like be taking this one weapon at a time. So yeah, swords were awesome before this, and so like the blade hit confirms didn't matter because if you had a sword and you were trying to play close, you could do that without having to worry too much about getting beat out by them, because you know they would win about as often as you did. Like, you know, they would make a mistake and then you would capitalize on it, and you would make a mistake and they would capitalize on it. It was all pretty fair and even with all things considered. No problem, Misfit. You're welcome for the GGs. So anyway, yeah, I'd like to see more like hit confirm combos and stuff like that, because to me that just means that the game is more fun. But yeah, we'll decide and see what they decide to do. So much lag, Maximus. Why do you gotta be in Australia, bro? All right. Kind of difficult to talk through some of this stuff while I'm playing Maximus just because the lag is kind of bad. So there's another thing that I do quite frequently. A lot of people don't understand how the invulnerability timer works in the game. So if you don't do anything, it lasts for about 3 seconds, right? If you pick up an item, it lasts for an additional second after you pick up the item, unless it's a gadget. If it's a gadget, you lose your invulnerability instantly. So, what I like to do is when people come out of the Valkyrie horn, what tends to happen is they just run to the nearest item and, you know, they go for it that way. So I'll just stand on top of it in air neutral, and they'll walk into it thinking that they've got invulnerability, when they don't. So it's just like another one of those things. So for instance, let's see what he does. If he runs over here, and you lose it as soon as you do an attack as well, so if you dive kick, you lose your invulnerability. Like while you're in the air. So if you have like a, I just dive kicked out of that bomb. So if you have like an anti-dive kick move, you can use it like while they're still invulnerable. And sometimes catch them unawares. So here's another example, like where I'm just kind of like messing up. Whoa, that was awkward. Messing with all the items like on the map. So what I'm doing is I'm preventing. I'm fighting Maximus, Maxi Misfit. What I'm doing is I'm just like creating the space so that I can keep getting these weapon pickups and I can deny all of them to you know, the other Hattori. So like doing that prevented her from getting her own item. I was able to pick up the other one, albeit I got uppercutted for it. But you know, it's all these little things that you have to, like, once you're done with like learning how all the moves work and, you know, your positioning and stuff, like you gotta do the other stuff that's needed, which is trying to outthink the other guy and using extra tips. Waiting for people to dodge. So there was a good example of how, like, you can follow up a whiffed dive kick with an uppercut. Oh, nice. Yep, see, so there he threw an item without having another one to pick it up, and the lag was weird, but he's dead. Oh, the little things. It's all about the little things. I think we're gonna get Misfit back in here after this match. If you're up for it, Misfit, if you would like to play. Deathwings is now playing Hello Raven. That's interesting. Deathwings person. Whoa, whoa.
Hattori.
All right. So yeah, what have we talked about? We've talked about item setups. We've talked about unarmed combos. We've talked about Valkyrie horn setups. We've talked about... let's talk about dodge baiting. So basically, one of the things to think about is when your opponent is going to dodge. So, like, you know how, like, in traditional fighting games, like, you know, Street Fighter or whatever, sometimes, like, yeah, okay, there's option selects, but, you know, let's think about it more from, like, mix-ups. So, with mix-ups, you basically have, you know, the whole question of, are they going to go high or low, right? Is it a high-low overhead mix-up? Well, in Brawlhalla, the way that kind of works is the question of, are they going to dodge or attack? Because in most scenarios, they're only going to be able to use one or two moves. So you can mainly guess at, like, the distance and, you know, size of the move and stuff like that. But it's typically the question of, are they going to dodge, attack, or throw an item? Right? Because they're going to do one of those two things, or three things. So if you wait for them to dodge, you can punish on reaction. If they throw an item, you're going to get hit. You know, which is why I prefer throwing items, and I think people who throw items well are gonna tend to do better in Brawlhalla in the long run. Just because throwing items tend to be safe. It's harder to get punished for throwing an item more so than it is for whipping a move. Alright, so here's another one. Nice. Wasn't expecting that. Oh! Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Item combinations. So one of the other things to note is that when you throw weapons and stuff, hey, what's up, PG Not? Is that one of the best things to do is to throw it at jump height. Because if you throw it, you know, like the normal platform level, what's gonna happen is they're gonna just jump over it, dodge through it. But most of the time when people jump, they're not immediately dodge canceling. So you can often catch people unawares just by throwing at jump level, because most of the time people jump. So like, yeah. It's something like when you see me Misfit play, you'll see that we double and triple jump quite a bit because we're used to each other's jump nonsense and item kind of, you know, unforgivingness with that. Oh! Standing diagonal is nice too. Stops dive kicks. What the heck do you mean by standing diagonal? You know, actually, man, Riposte, I see what you're talking about. Part of the reason why I love playing Brawlhalla is because its controls are so much cleaner than Smash's. Like, Smash to me, in its current, you know, Wii U state, just feels like a game designed for hyperactive teenagers who drink too much Mountain Dew. Like, the controls don't feel clean. Half the time I don't even feel like I'm in control of my character. There's so much floatiness and difference in weight classes between all of them. And then, not to mention the fact that even if you turn off all the items, like, there's still this huge element of confusion as far as to, am I in control of my character, or is the game just fucking with me? It might just be that the game is too fast and I'm really old and no longer good at video games or something. But for me, Smash just, I don't like the new versions of Smash. You know, I played the original one on 64. I probably dropped over 1,000 hours into that game when I was a kid. And I just don't like all of the more recent iterations of the game. It's just not my purview. Misfit knows what I'm talking about because he is a hyperactive teen who drinks too much Mountain Dew. And you know what the thing is that if you look at every person who plays Melee, they're all people who were either they're all people who were fortunate enough to have a GameCube. And the problem is that the GameCube was Nintendo's least successful console. So the Melee pool of players is incredibly small. Like, I never once played Melee because I just didn't have a gamepad. Or, not a gamepad, a GameCube. Thanks for the games, by the way, Maximus. GG. Well, you know what, guys? I feel you, because I used to be a very hyperactive teen who drank too much Mountain Dew. And, you know, when I was a hyperactive teen, I was very easily offended by things on the internet as well. And, you know, anytime anyone said anything about me or my Mountain Dew drinking habits. Now, eventually, when I graduated and just started drinking coffee like a normal person instead of the green liquid that turned my skin to interesting mush. Oh, man. Yeah, GameCube was like the generation of console that I know a lot of people skipped. I know I unfortunately skipped it. You know, do I regret? Yes, GameCube had some awesome games on it, but it was just super, Super tiny. Riposte, do you have the numbers from Evo on that? Like how many people entered Smash compared to say like Street Fighter or whatever? Because I'm actually interested. Like I don't know a whole lot about the Smash Brothers, you know, fighting community. So I am a stranger to that. Other than just, you know, having played the game for ages when I was a kid in its initial version, I don't know much about the Melee scene. Yeah, Mortal Kombat's been at EVO all these years. Nice double KO. Well, I would go find out on Wiki as far as to the actual number, but I'm streaming right now. That's why I wanted to see if you could do it. Because I'd like to believe you, but unfortunately I used to be a journalist at one point and don't believe anything unless it's got like actual data. So I tend not to just listen to things on the internet anymore. Sorry, I always get quiet when I play Misfit because I have to think so hard about how to win. Nice. Whoa. Weird rubber banding that's not usual. Did you guys see that on stream, or is that just me? Nobody really likes Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat players, like, of which there are very few amount. What the heck was that? Oh my god, there's all sorts of weird stuff happening. What the heck? Who is... Oh, what is going on with the servers? I wonder if they're patching or something. That would be really cool. Late night patch. Are you guys seeing this lag, or is this just something that's happening to me? Yeah, well, Street Fighter takes the cake for all of this stuff, so... I think something's going on with my game. I'll just start spamming, like, you know, signature moves, because that seems to work pretty well. Right? That's what you do. When in doubt, spam them out. That's crazy sauce. Oh well, it's fine. Misfit will feel good when he wins. Well, I think something's going on with my game client as well. Up, up. Alright. Biscuit's DDoSing me. That would be hilarious. The desire to win is so huge that I get internet attacked. Alright, let's turn this off.
Player 1 wins.
GG, Misfit. Let's take a look at what the heck's going on. Why is Chrome using up so much flippin' nonsense? Doesn't seem right. I barely have anything open. Alright.